Assalamu alaikum, starting with the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful. Good afternoon, everyone. I warmly welcome you all to today's webinar commemorating the 6th International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies on the theme Healing Wounds and Strengthening the Future. This day is a reminder that clean air is not a luxury but a fundamental right for every human being in every community. Unfortunately, climate change is responding to us with increasing severity. We are witnessing the devastating floods, smokes, and the health hazards associated with this climate change, which are no longer distant hazard or threat, but the present reality. So our purpose today is to come together to reflect, to learn, and to act. We must recognize that building climate resilience requires more than infrastructure. It requires cooperation and conflict resolution and climate justice. We cannot afford to allow long-standing disputes such as those around shared water resources to hold us back for preparing for the challenges ahead. So I would like to share my short presentation, and then after that, I will invite our chief guest to share her views. So since 2000, the UN is commemorating International Day of Clean Air for Blue Sky. The purpose of this day is that UN member states recognize that the need of sustainability to reduce the number of deaths and illness from hazardous chemicals and air, water, and pollution and contaminations by 2030, as well as to reduce the adverse per capita environmental impact of cities, including by paying special attention to air quality and municipal and other waste managements by 2030. So racing for air, every breath matters. Air pollution is the biggest environmental health risk of over time. It also exaggerates climate change, causes economic losses, and reduces agriculture productivity. It knows not borders. Everyone has a responsibility to protect our atmosphere and ensure healthy air for all. So it is the twofold problem. Air pollution is considered to be a twofold problem for the world, impacting both health and climate. But for Pakistan, it's a threefold problem. It not only damages our people health and accelerate climate change, but also strikes to the heart of our economy. From reduced agricultural productivity to higher healthcare costs and declining industrial efficiency, the burden is immense. These triple challenges make it urgent for us to act decisively with solutions that are just, inclusive, and forward-looking. So we have to face threefold problem, that is climate, health, and economy. Now, with this, I would like to invite our chief guest, Miss Jo. She is the Fulbright specialist, and she is the scholar, and she is the senior fellow of Center of Studies of Law and Religion from university, and he is the registered mediator also. So I'm going to stop my sharing, and it's up to Miss Jo. Kindly, please.
Yes.
Ms. Jo.
Friends, colleagues, fellow citizens of our shared world. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon to all of you in Pakistan. My name is Dr. Joe Chitlick. I am a senior fellow at Emory University Center for the Study of Law and Religion, where my scholarly work specializes in alternative dispute resolutions and peaceful de-escalation of conflict through the lens of global comparative law and religion. It is truly an honor to be counted among the roster of so many illustrious professionals, my fellow climate warriors. I am here today not only as a scholar, but as a global citizen who, like you, are concerned not only for the many world challenges we are currently facing today, but also for the climate legacy that we will leave behind to those generations that come after us. In simpler terms, what are we leaving behind? I want to take this opportunity to speak candidly about a subject that is often whispered about, but rarely confronted directly. It is the silent, relentless force that is reshaping our planet, and in this process, driving us towards a dangerous new era of escalation of conflict, not only between people, but more so between nations. I am speaking of climate change, not just as an environmental crisis. I am speaking of it as a geopolitical crisis. By the same token, I want to address the concept of climate justice, a concept that recognizes the negative impacts of climate change are not distributed equally and instead disproportionately affect a marginalized or vulnerable population. The title of this address is Healing Wounds, Pathways of Peace in Times of Climatic Disasters. And it is a forceful call to action, which is born from the cities of urgencies that we demand hope and something valuable for the Earth's future. For too long, we have mislabeled climate change as a problem towards the future, a global or gradual inconvenience, an unequal burden that will affect some, while naively believing that others will weather it unscathed. I'm here to tell you, you are so sadly mistaken. Climate change is here now. And climate justice tells us that this is a shared universal responsibility where no one is completely innocent, and all of us have a generational responsibility as humans to address climate change should there be a framed sole responsibility. That cannot be so. We need to address it jointly. In the events of 2024 and 2025 have reinforced that climate change is a crisis of the present, and that this relentless tsunami of unprecedented disasters have the terrifying ability to turn neighbor against neighbor and nation against nation. Think about the blistering summer of 2024. As temperatures soared above 50 Celsius in parts of Asia, heat waves in India and Pakistan claimed hundreds of lives, while extreme droughts crippled agriculture across Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Malawi, impacting over 25 million people. In our own Western Hemisphere, unprecedented wildfires scorched Los Angeles, California, and a relentless barrage of storms and tornadoes ripped through the United States in the first half of 2025. These are not isolated incidents. These are chapters in a single unfolding story of a planet that is clearly signaling to us that humans are under duress. These disasters I have just mentioned are more than just statistics of destruction. They are drivers of economic instability, human displacement, world hunger, and a growing trend towards international conflict. In this vacuum, we see that competition and survival of the strongest replaces cooperation. These seeds of human desperation and fear grow strong roots, and it is this fertile soil where conflict festers, growing strongly, leading to unprecedented ways of handling unprecedented issues. It is a fundamental truth. Blood and water cannot flow together. Now let's turn our attention to one of the most sobering examples of this dynamic, the recent standoff between India and Pakistan over the Indus Water Treaty. Signed in 1960, the treaty was hailed as a triumph of modern diplomacy. It successfully navigated 3 wars and decades of hostility by dividing the waters of the Indus River system, a lifeline for over 270 million people across both nations. India, as the upper riparian state, was given control of the eastern rivers, while Pakistan was granted control of the western rivers. For more than 60 years, it was a remarkable example of how a shared source could be managed. And in the face of deeply seated political antagonism between these two neighboring nations, the treaty continued to work. But the climate crisis has begun to unravel this delicate pact. The Indus system is fed by Himalayan glaciers and the annual monsoon rains. As our planet warms, these glaciers are melting. And at an accelerated rate, the monsoon patterns are becoming more erratic and unpredictable. This has led to a reduction in the water flow, placing immense stress on the treaty's rigid framework. The tensions which had simmered for a long period of time finally boiled over on April 2025, when, following a devastating terroristic attack, India announced a unilateral suspension of the treaty. The biggest problem with this move is that the treaty does not contemplate either party taking a step to suspend the effects of the treaty, because the object of the treaty is the access to shared water source, which is crucial not only for Pakistan, but also for India. Here, the key word is unprecedented, and the concern is twofold. Number one, the boldness of the move by one party within a well-established international commitment or treaty that nowhere in the text contemplates the ability for either party to suspend the effects. And number two, the interpretation made by the affected party. Pakistan, faced with this unprecedented circumstance, moved to immediately label India's actions as an act of war. And after that, in a blink of an eye, the disagreement between two militarily powerful nuclear nations escalated. The citizens of Pakistan and India live brief but terrifying times as military action took place in May of this year. Thankfully for the global community, level heads prevailed, and the parties were able to reach a brokered or mediated ceasefire. However, without solving the issue surrounding the treaty. The exchange thrusted both nations, India and Pakistan, once again to use the dispute resolution mechanisms embedded within the treaty and to try to resolve the global and geopolitical issue. The mechanisms range from taking the matter to the Permanent Indus Commission to escalating it to a court of arbitration. And that's exactly where the matter rests today, in the court of arbitration. Leaving the complex legal issues aside for this conversation, what lesson did this event teach us? The reason for diplomatic failure is clear. The Indus Water Treaty was built for a different world. It was designed to manage a stable source, not a dwindling one. It failed to account for the future where a shared river could be weaponized, not just by human hands, but by devastating effects of climate change. The suspension of the treaty is a stark warning that climate change is transforming long-standing diplomatic challenges in acute security threats. But this is not the story of an inevitable doom. The very same forces that expose our vulnerabilities can also serve as a power catalyst for change. That shared threat of climate disaster can be the foundation upon which we build new pathways to peace. First, we must shift our mindset from competition to collaboration. Nationalist mindsets or any other where nations become islands simply are not sustainable. Most affected countries need to demand a seat at the table so they can share their current experiences and we can all benefit from knowing them. To solve these issues, we need to lay down ideologies, religious differences, cultures, power plays, and instead focus on what unites us, a shared earth that belongs not to some of us, but to all of us. We are faced with a common enemy, floods, droughts, heat waves, and our rational response is to work together. We need joint research initiatives, shared early warning systems, greater awareness and understanding of the subject, and a collaborative infrastructure of projects. Second, we must redefine what we mean by national security. It is no longer just about military strengths and borders. True security in the 21st century is about the resilience of our communities, the stability of our food systems, and the availability of clean water for all. By reframing climate change not as an environmental problem, but as a core tenet of our security, we can mobilize the political will and resources needed to address it head on. Third, we must embrace a new era of diplomatic innovation. We need flexible treaties and international forums that are climate informed and adaptable to rapid changing worlds. As the UN has shown through its climate related mediation efforts, the same issues that divide us, like water and land scarcity, can also be a starting point for dialogue and a shared future. Lastly, we must implement gender, children, and indigenous response climate policies. For example, women are often the most vulnerable to the effects of climate change. Climate policies must be gender responsive to meet those needs. Children are vulnerable to the long-term effects of climate change, while indigenous people are often the front lines of climate change impacted by their close relationship with the land and the natural resources. In closing, I want to thank my gracious host, Ms. Arun Tajik, and Inroads Climate Ambassador, Exodus Green, the United Nations Environment Program, and Huey for their ongoing support. I leave you with these words. The wounds of climate disasters are deep and painful, but they are not incurable. They are a call for us to look beyond our national interests and see our common humanity. The rivers of our planet, the melting glaciers, and the scorched earth are not simply environmental markers. They are a mirror reflecting our own capacity for both conflict and cooperation. Humanity is once again being watched and tested to see how we will confront these challenges. History will determine if we are successful or we fail. Let us choose to see this global crisis as an opportunity to build a more just and more peaceful world, one act of cooperation at a time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. For more just and peaceful world, definitely we have to build the resilience communities and definitely we have to address our conflicts. Now I would like to invite Dr. Ehsanur Rahman, our keynote speaker. He is oncologist and right now he's serving in Northampton Hospital, and he will share his thoughts on climate-induced health hazards and risk management. Dr. Ehsan. Dr. Ehsan.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you. We're hearing you.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me on this a very important forum. Okay, I will just if I can share my screen.
Okay, I allow you. I give the permission to you. You can share your screen.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, just yeah. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Yes.
Yeah. Can you see
Yes.
now?
Yes. No.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me on this very important topic about the effect of climate change on the health, not only the health of the people, also the healthcare system. And I am an oncologist working in UK at the moment. So I will just talk about few things that we can see now due to the climate change. There is extreme weathers, whether it is very hot, whether it is very cold, or change of the weather. Recently, we have seen the change in our region as well in India and Pakistan with the lethal monsoon flooding, and there is a spikes of water. All this can bring vector-borne diseases and which have a major impact on the healthcare system. So what we need to do is identify the risk factor, pre-planning, manage the disaster, post-disaster, healthcare system, pressure on the healthcare, and we need to use that wash strategy, which is just water, sanitization, and effect on the health. Okay. Yes, I'm not expert, but we know that there are certain factors due to which there is a increased flood, maybe a poor planning, no preemptive measures, also a climate change, and also the urbanization on the floodplains, deforestation, and the glacier melt. These are few factors. Now, the recent floods in our region, it is mentioned up till now there are more than 800 deaths in Pakistan and more than 1 million people evacuated according to the report. Same is with India as well, and Punjab mostly on the both sides have got a widespread impact due to this flood. Okay. Now, in Pakistan, we have seen this flood in 2022 as well, and followed by a recent flood in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, one of our province, followed by the flood in the Punjab area, and now there is high alert in our Sindh region as well. So, according to the statistics previously in 2022, more than 1,700 deaths recorded and 30 to 40 billion damage, 33 million people affected, which can increase the pressure on the health system 4 times. So, there is a careful need for the planning preemptive measures. Now, the floods can translate into the health harm, which are immediate, short term, and the long term. The immediate seen due to the drowning, trauma, snake bites, and electrocution. And then also the infectious diseases, waterborne and vector-borne diseases, especially in our region, malaria or dengue are the most common. And sometimes it also leaves a long-term impact, not only the uh, losses of the life, but also the financial and also the psychological impact, which may be anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and the exacerbation of acute respiratory symptoms, antimicrobial resistance as well. The waterborne diseases, which are more common, which can be dealt with due to the sanitary hygiene and the supply of the clean water. As I told that previously we have seen 4 times increase in the incidence of malaria and dengue in Pakistan after 2022 flood. So there is a need for preemptive measures to prevent these hazards as well. When the flood calamity came, it will affect the vulnerable people or population. And the vulnerable people or populations are women, pregnant women, newborns, young children, elderly populations, and the people with the disability who have got the long-term chronic illnesses like diabetes, renal failure, or they have sometimes the patient with cancer who need a regular treatment without any interruptions. So, the health system disruption during the floods can be due to actual the disease or outbreak, or also due to the lack of the facility or the disruption in the facility, like food chain, supply of the medicine, disruption of the communication, roads, and lack of facility of clean drinking water. So the risk management framework depend on prevention and preparedness and the response to actual calamity, and also the recovery in the longer term area. There should be a need, as spoken by my worthy colleague participant earlier, a better communication, the warnings, and then between the two countries is very much important. And also when it is happening. This is not the first time we are facing this disaster or flood. So we should have an preemptive measures or the availability of kits, shifting the people, providing them the shelter, preventive of the vector control diseases, safe and clean water, sanitation, and health facilities. Also, we need an expert, which are experts in epidemiological studies, microbiologists or entomologists who can deal with this diseases. Continuity of care is very important in a patients who are on long-term medication and follow-up, like chronic renal failure patients, dialysis patients, cancer patients who need a continuity of care. And also, it is very important that we have a cross-border and regional cooperation between the two countries to actually facilitate and aid our efforts, and also to work together for the humanity. So the action plan could be a shorter term, 30, 60, and 90 days. 30 days action plan should be to focus on the acute damages and the outburst of the diseases, and then rebuild, and then longer terms strategies. People who can help, who are experts, like the health experts, which are experts in epidemiological studies, communicable diseases, immunizations, EPI program. This time we have faced a big disaster as compared to our in 2022, and up till now, according to the reports, as I mentioned, more than 1,000 people have lost their life. So as a whole, the key thing is better communication, warning systems, better preparations to deal with these calamity, act promptly, and then build and to do something which can help us in a long-term planning, that we can reduce this calamity. We cannot fight with the nature, but we can build an infrastructures, policies, planning to reduce these calamities and a loss of life, and also the structural damage on both sides. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sir. Okay, well said. Now we have to move towards the preparedness, early preparedness systems, and we have to focus on the upcoming diseases like dengue and, the most important problem that Dr. Ehsan mentioned is the pregnant women. So right now, I would like to invite Dr. Seemal, Professor Dr. Seemal. She is an educationist, and she will definitely, you can say, tell us about that how education is so very much important in reshaping this all scenario, and how we can build the STEM graduates with the capacity of addressing the climate change shift. Up to Professor Dr. Seemal.
Thank you very much, Iram. Thank you for inviting me on this forum, and it's a great opportunity to share my views with Dr. Joe Chitlik and also other attendees. We all know that the present crisis is something that we have to address to as soon as possible. It is sheer crisis. And Dr. Joe very rightly talked about the climate justice. And I feel that at the moment it's more of an injustice rather than justice, because everybody's responsible, actually. The people who are creating these situations, who are responsible for creating these situations, not only always face the disasters. Sometimes it's some people in other areas of the world who are facing this. So actually, this is a global responsibility. And I'm actually a professor of botany, and I'm also a research supervisor. I have been supervising some research of environmental projects during my tenure. And I'm also here actually as a research director of an organization which is called as Global Three Dots. And now what I want to talk about here is actually long-term solution. We are all talking about these political issues which are going on, especially between the conflicts between in India and Pakistan. Unfortunately, the treaty is being broken, and all the people are facing the crisis, especially us in Punjab, and now also the disaster is heading towards Sindh. So these are the things that have to be addressed immediately. But what I want to say is that we have also to build a long-term solution, and that is through education. We cannot neglect the capacity building. So I'm here to talk about building STEM graduates. These are the science and then technological, engineering and mathematics students, especially the graduates. So once we give them proper education, good insights about what the crisis we are facing, and then they are actually the ones who are very innovative. They are the ones who are interconnected now globally everywhere. So if we give them proper education at that time, they can be the ones who are responsible for the policy making, and they can transform whole of the system and help us. So actually, first let's talk about the context. Why climate change is not just an environmental issue. I think it's also an educational challenge. And we have an urgent need for graduates who can translate the STEM knowledge into actionable climate situation. So education is actually a driver of climate resilience and sustainable development. So I think that the STEM graduates have a unique role. They can act as bridge builders between scientific knowledge and community understanding. Because they are the ones who are now going to, after graduating, they can be teachers, they can go in the different fields, and they can disseminate the knowledge that they have attained during their academic period. So how the STEM disciplines prepare, how can we prepare them? With their increasing their analytical skills, problem solving skills, and innovation skills as well. So all this is, I think, dependent on the curriculum that they have to go through during their studies. So the next thing that I would like to talk about is the gaps. What are the capacity gaps that have to be addressed? Well, there is limited integration of climate change into the current STEM curricula. So soft skills are needed, critical thinking is needed, political awareness is needed, and most of all, community engagement. So, what can be the pathways for the educational transformation? Because we are talking about the transformation. So, there should be climate literacy and sustainability. That should be the integral part of the STEM education. So, the curricula needs to be redesigned. It should include the real world problem solving cases so that the students know what is going on in the world right now. There should be some projects like that. And then there should be partnership between universities, industry, government, and communities. And the students must go through some field works. They should have some climate tasks, internships. There's so many things in which the students can be, uh, they can be given this knowledge, and that which they can apply later. So this is not only a local perspective. The climate change, it is a global thing. So we have to, improve their curricula, basically. The future vision is now how the STEM graduates can be educated, because how can they be the educators, innovators, and how can they advocate for climate resilience? So here comes the role of AI and data science in transforming a climate change. So not only the curricula should include the case studies, the real world problems, but they should also be given an insight of the digital tools, which later they can, apply to combat this crisis. So I think that higher education institutes must integrate climate concerns into the core of the STEM training. And now coming to Pakistan, actually, we don't have those resources which, sorry, I forgot to, um, be on the video. So the problem here in Pakistan is that we don't have that much resources like the other countries, North America and other developed countries. So nothing can be done actually without finances, proper finances. They need to actually, I can give you my personal experience. When I was doing my research for PhD, I know that I had to spend a lot of money personally. That was okay. Thank God I could afford it. But there are so many students who have the brains to do research work, but they don't have enough funds. So here come, these are the constraints that we have. And then the research that is done over here in Pakistan, that is on the basis of, what is going on, the real problems, the real issues in this part of the world. So it has to be done here. Like, you can't just go to America or Canada and do some research works. You have to be here to face the real thing, what's going on. So this is one of the things that needs to be looked into, how these students should be given enough funding and enough finances so that they can be at ease and they can use their minds to do whatever they want to search. So there should be actually a collaboration now. That's the most needed things. There should be well developed labs, and not only the higher education. If you come to think of it, it starts right at the beginning when the students are at a school level. Why not have like some just give them, sometimes we have to be the thinkers, we have to tell them what to do. Like, you can advise them to have some green clubs, they can do some activities, community work, and things like this. And then there's a third aspect, that the teachers, the instructors, the professors who have so many students in front of their class who are taking what they are teaching, they should be trained. Training or an individual will not be so effective as would be an educator. So we should have some system in Pakistan where the teachers and even the school teachers are given opportunities to go abroad and get some hold of some good knowledge, new technologies, and that they can apply when they come back to the country. So this is actually a multidisciplinary thing. You can't have clean air and blue skies, and you can't have combat this climate change unless and until different sectors of the country, they get together, different people think we are all responsible. We have done this anthropogenic crisis. We are responsible for that, and we are the ones who should struggle to bring things back normal for the coming generations. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks so very much, because you really give us the clean picture that how sustainable development education is the need of the real transformation. Now, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Usma Ashik Khan. She is Assistant Professor and Gender Development Study Department, Lahore College University. Lahore College Women University. Ma'am Uzma, and she will
Thank you, Iram.
Okay, today she will tell us that how gender perceptive studies is important in climate change and conflict resolution. Dr. Uzma, up to you.
Ji, please. Thank you, Iram. Thank you, rest of the participants, for giving the opportunity, organizers, to share my experiences and knowledge with the rest of my respected colleagues. As Iram tell you all that I am heading the Department of Gender and Development Studies, Lahore College for Women University. By profession, I'm a clinical psychologist. So I would like to share a few facts and figures and experiences. Sometimes the earlier speakers cover most of the aspects that you are planning to share, and I think that helped the upcoming presenters to shorten their speech and shorten their content. But I have few more things that I can share with you. As my rest of the colleagues shared that, yes, when we talk about climate, when we talk about peace, and when we talk about the regional conflicts, women and girls are sometimes taken as a tool. And they are also affected by so many factors, the indicators that are existing around us. For example, the access on resources, the limitations to access towards education, mobility, and health. And I think I personally feel that even out of these conflicted situations that we currently see, that control on the water and the control on the regional resources, I personally feel that sometimes it's very important to think on the aspects that we can take at the time of peace before the disaster, and what is the position of women and girls in our society, and what the position and mindset they experience in the time of peace, in the time of non-conflicting situations. So I will share with you some aspects that I personally feel that climate impact and that is linked with their health also, which I was seeing in the title also. According to the UN figures, as we all know, that women and girls are disproportionately impacted by the climate, and they are world's poor, unfortunately, and highly dependent. They are dependent on even on their basic decisions about their health, education, and even on their bodies, which is sometimes debatable and discussed on different forums, that whether how many kids they will have in their life, and their basic decisions are they are dependent on the other partner and spouses of and other partners of the even the mother-in-law decisions. They are dependent on those resources. Even they are not responsible. We see that in most of the regions, they are responsible for providing food, water, even the firewoods. They are very much on responsible on making food at household and giving different work to their rest of the members. But in case of disaster, rainfall, we see that they perform even harder sometimes, and they are sometimes dependent on evacuation. At the process of evacuation, I was thinking of the time when few years back, uh, in the earthquake, few NGOs reported that few lactating mothers refuse to breastfeed their child due to they don't have the proper place to breastfeed their child. So these type of hazards and these type of challenges sometimes they face, they are exposed to sometimes a gender-based violence. When we saw focus on the exposure and mobility, we see that if a 7 years old move from one place to another, the boy baby is as much at risk as a girl child is exposed to the violence. So in weather disasters, we see that women and children are 14 times more likely to die due to limited access to information. In the peace situation, if we see that, unfortunately, the facts and figures and the data reports such that they have limited access to information. They don't know how to respond to the disaster situation. They are limited information about how to evacuate because they are not the partners in the decision making in everyday decision making discussions. When we talk about the mobility, we see that more and more women are on bike now. They are not dependent. They are easily can go from one place to another. This is a small change that we are experiencing around us. But again, there is a lot need to be done more in our society regarding the decision making and the excess of resources. So an estimated out of 4 out of 5 people displaced, we see that the impact of climate change are more on girls and women. And basically, especially when talk about the sexual and reproductive health, the pregnant women, the women are comparatively are considered in our society that they will have the responsibility to raise children, look after the children, and look after their basic needs. So I think the cultural shift, the cultural mindset need to be addressed that father is equally responsible to raise the child as the mother is responsible. So I think sharing the responsibility can also less burden the climate and less burden the society towards the disaster situation. Whenever we have disasters, unfortunately, for God forbid, if we have in these type of disasters in future, I think if mothers are trained and fathers are equally trained in the household chores and responsibility of the kids, I think the burden can be equalized regarding the prevention and evacuation and all the other processes that can be focused. So after disaster, we generally see that women are likely to responsible for the caregiver of the sick also. When we focus that who will look after the sick, the first person we have in our mind is our females who will be responsible for taking care of the sick in the family. So why they are only considered as, because if they are contributing in the economic workforce, the men should also be equally responsible to take care of the sick in the family. So they are largely excluded sometime in shaping when we planning a policy, when we are planning to strategies and programs, we see that they are not considered as the main stakeholder in a decision making forums. Even I was seeing some pictures and committee members, in most of the committee members, women are even not in the as a part of the committee members who are planning and strategizing different plans and programs for the future. So they are not allowed sometimes. My one of my partners talk about the aspects that it is a time now. Dr. Seemal was focusing on the interdisciplinary approaches. I am very much supported of the notion that yes, it is not only one subject in isolation now. Even across discipline, we talk about gender, climate, and other disciplines on a one lens, and we can resolve issues by focusing on the interdisciplinary approaches. And I think most of the people who are from the academia must know about that now HEC new policy, undergrad policy, focuses on the notion that every child, every student should do the community project. as the completion as a compulsory part to complete their education. So now the sciences students and the social sciences students, they have to complete the community project. So I think the stakeholder, the industry should utilize that resource that we are producing graduates every year. We are producing young leaders every year, but what is the utilization of those leaders and graduates in the industry? So I personally feel that there is a still gap between the industry and academia, and that gap can be filled by sitting together, the related stakeholders sit together with academia to fill that gap so that the graduates that we are producing every year should be utilized accordingly in different fields. My One of my colleague, Dr. Simal, again talk about the Green Club and so many initiatives that we can take as academia to involve students and young leaders. I think these are brilliant ideas that we have. We have to do researchers. We are the hub of institutions. Our academia is the hub of research. So why not stakeholders share their area of interest with us so that we do research on the same areas that can be helpful for them, at the same time beneficial for our university and students. So I personally feel that focusing on the net conclusion of what I am saying is that it's more of the position of the women and the mindset of the society that can lessen the burden of, I think, whenever if we feel some disaster and we face some disaster, uh, the overall responsibility, the mindset of the society at the time of peace building, the training, the capacity building, the aspect that we should take should be prior to that disaster. The training should be in the part of their curriculum of or the lifestyle patterns, rather than that we should wait for the disaster and then do something to take the situation better. So it's a time to do intervention at the time of peace. So thank you, Iram. These are few points I think which I try to share with you that are different from my rest of the colleagues who have shared their information. Thank you, Iram.
Thank you, Dr. Uzma. Now I'm feeling that together we can, because since long we are listening and we are going that together we can. But now I'm feeling that now is the time together we can definitely build some resilient society or sustainability. We can move towards sustainability. My next speaker is Professor Muhammad Rahil Bhatt. He is the climate youth advocate, and he will definitely tell us that how youth engagements are important in climate actions and regional peace building. Up to Dr. Rahil.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So thank you very much, Madam Erin, for inviting me and having me on this very important discussion. And what I thought is that the topic of this discussion is very important, that healing wounds strengthening the future. And I must say we can strengthen the future of our all nation. If we're talking about the Asian vision, where we belongs to a country like Pakistan, where we are facing a lot of climate change from not only the recent years but a number of times, and it's feel like a gap of having 5 to 7 or to 10 more years, and then we are facing the same pattern. Likewise, what I thought is when I was doing the hiking in 2010 onwards, we were facing the same pattern. And from 2010 to 2025, after having 15 years gap, where we are heading towards global diversity, where we are heading towards a number of technological change, we are still facing the same more devastating flood in the region. But the major point is that Pakistan is standing where the climate change are deeply visible. Devastating floods, heat waves, the glacier melting. And I must say it is a recurring thoughts where we are just like not only the environmental problems wound, but that also touches the life of millions and millions of people, threatening the livelihoods, It is definitely this food security problems, the health, the stability of the community. If we are talking about the community, uh, we have a lot of people, uh, you can say, in this community. The community comprises of young youth, the old people, the upcoming people, where we can combinedly, you can say, strengthening to these sort of, you can say, disasters. We can call it as a some type of man-made disasters or natural disasters. But the question is, if this is a disaster is nothing to say. If it is a natural disaster, what are the remedies? Uh, Temporarily, we can take relief out of it, but in the longer run, uh, through adaptation, through collective action, we can, you can say, healing these sort of wounds by supporting each other, by restoring our ecosystem, by the climate change resilient agriculture. But in today's challenges, not only you can say strengthening the future or tomorrow's future of Pakistan, it is a collective effort. And one of my speaker, Dr. Joy, has rightly pointed out a very lively term that is, I must say, the diplomatic innovation. So through this diplomatic innovation, if we're talking about the other countries, which are developed countries, if we are come together, or we can unite our relationship, if we're connecting our dots, we can save the future of our all countries, not only in the Asia, because we are seeing a lot of disasters in the other developing nations. Then I have a question in mind: that why we are having this sort of disaster, and what are the post-disasters remedies? If we're not engaging that post-disaster remedies through our youth, then we face a lot of mental health challenges, especially for the young people and students. I'm teaching to the number of students, specifically in different universities of Lahore. Uh, I must say that this is one of the challenge for our young youth, because once we are focusing on the education engagement, the innovation, then on the parallel side, our students are facing a lot of these sort of academic disasters, because this is directly proportional to each other. They feel very insecure, they feel very vulnerable. They are continuously exploring the alarming climate news, which intensifies their feelings of hopelessness, stress, and depression. It's a common phenomenon. When you are depression, you can't do anything. You can't happy. If you just switch on the television from 7 p.m. to 11, one of the family time, you listen a lot of depressive news every time. So how you can feel like that you can elevate your youth, and that youth will become a youth which is for the best future of the country. So I must say these all are emotional traumas. So we must handle those emotional traumas. We need to initiate a lot of, you can say, counseling services, the youth leading climate action initiatives. These climate educations must be a part of every syllabi in the academic institutions like schools, colleges, and universities, so that they can improve the mental health of our students and reducing the helplessness. What I need to say is there are certain remedies for all these climate-related disasters so that we can involve our youth. The first one is we must do a policy and planning. And that policy and planning needs to develop a strong disaster management system. We have the PDMS, we have the NDMS, provincial disaster management, national disaster management, but we need to involve our academias or industry in these PDMs and NDMs. I recently went to dean of a university, is the public policy dean of a university. I talked to her and I told her that you are doing a great job. Then do you have any perspective or a play or any role in the national policy or provincial policy? She simply denied. And the denial is not from the academia side. It is denial from the governmental side, that they have simply rejected, and we have already done this. So I thought this is the need of an hour that we can collectively work together. We can implement this climate resilient infrastructure. We can integrate the climate education into the schools and universities or the colleges to prepare the better youth. The second important aspect is the environmental restoration. A large scale of tree plantation, which protects the forest and reduce the heats, iron and floods, restore the river banks, promote the sustainable farming to reduce the soil erosion and water stress. One of my director is also here, Professor Adia. She has recently told me that in the foreign countries like Germany, Sweden, and UK, they have, you can say, they are producing a synthetic leaf as one of the innovation process. And that synthetic leaf is to reduce the reduction in the pollution and also change the climate, which also been one of the very technological innovation. My third remedies for the climate youth initiative is the technology and innovation. Invest in the renewable sources, reduce dependency on the fossil fuels, adopt the smart weather forecasting. You can say the early forecasting points. The number four, you must prepare your community. That you must train your communities, provide them the educational trainings, drill evacuation drills, the disaster response. My dear audience, do you think that the first responsive aspect in the rescue 112, one of the department in Punjab, in Pakistan, the first, the most foremost important aspect of that rescue 112 is that disaster response. Once the disaster has done, either it is a man-made disaster or a natural disaster, the first thing is effective response, because the effective need response, not the remedies. We are doing something that we are building a house, we are preparing for the food. No, no, not at all. They need a proper response. And how we can do that? If you can prepare a youth for these sort of disaster response in this crucial time, where more than 1,400,000 people are affected in Punjab, only in Punjab, in other provinces. So the community preparedness create a safer shelter in the vulnerable areas, train them, strengthen their social support networks. Were like one of our doctor, which has recently talked about. She's working in equality gender. So I was invited by the University of Faisal and for one of the policy making competition. And could you believe, one of the panelists that the university students, they all are from all are female students. They came from the Multan, and what was their project? A very important topic related to the female problems, like where the people are female students are facing periods, the days of the periods. We cannot highlight these problems, and these problems are very important in the society. We are just highlighting that these are some Islamic point of view. We cannot talk on these policy making competitions. But I'm very happy to see. I'm very happy to listen all those important points made by those students, and I congratulate them because they have highlighted a very important issues, because a lot of rural areas women are facing these sort of problems, and they are very hesitant to tell these sort of problems to their husbands, to their family members. So this is what we can say. This is the community preparedness. And then the last point what I need to share is to engage that the mental health support. The mental health support, you need to provide the counseling services, the effective, the especially you encourage them. Encourage them to turn anxiety into the constructive engagement. And the last point is raise awareness that mental health is as important as physical rebuilding after a disaster. So through this all, what I thought is, because my company is providing to connect the dots, and we all are here like a dot, and if we connect each other, then we can prepare a better, you can say, community, and that community will lead the global world, and that will be the strengthening. I must thankful to the Exotic Screen chairperson, Ms. Iram, and my rest of our speakers from international and national for giving their very valuable insight and on a very important topic. And I must say, this would regularly be more effective. I request to Ms. Iram that in the next time I will request to all my students that I assign the assignments to them to be a part of this sort of, you can say, online discussion. And I will ask them to take the notes and we can discuss in the classes so that if we will not allow, if we will not emphasize our students to be a part of these discussions, so they on our Sunday, we are having an important task and they are on their beds. So we just await them to turn into this youth affected communities online discussions and be a part of it. Once again, thank you very much, Madam.
Thank you, Professor Rahil. Definitely, as I said, now we are in position to do something good and better. We have few questions that how we can ensure that vulnerable groups, especially women, children, and marginalized communities receive fair protection and representation in climate negotiations. And then we have a question also that what steps can neighbor countries take to move beyond mistrust and build climate cooperations, particularly on shared resources like rivers. And lastly, in our experience, how do unresolved regional conflicts such as water disputes worsen the impact of climate disasters like floods and droughts? So I would like to open the mic for our attendees who are listening us from time. If someone want to ask some question, then please raise your hand. From our participants, if someone want to ask some question, please raise your hand.
Ms. Iram, if I would humbly request it if Dr. Ijaz is here because he's doing a lot of patients as a medical point of view. If Dr. Ijaz is here, he can highlight a lot more practical examples with us.
I think he's not here.
I can talk on his behalf. Actually, he's my husband and he's attending his French class at the moment. So he would have given his input definitely. Maybe when his class is over, he can come and join again. And I know because he has worked, his PhD is based on dengue and he has a lot of research background. So maybe he can tell how the climate change is affecting. So I think if the class ends by that time, his class ends, he will join us. Thank you.
I want to have questions from the participants who are attending this webinar. Anyone who want to ask?
I have a question from Dr. Jo. If she can listen. Dr. Jo.
Okay.
Absolutely. Please go forward.
Dr. Jo, how we can collaborate our Asian countries with the other countries like you've been a developing nation, because we, being a nation, face a lot of catastrophic position nowadays in Pakistan, like floods and the summer. So can you please highlight those important aspects which we can collaborate our two nations? I'll not highlight as an individual person, like a nation from one country to another country for the better global world.
First of all, thank you so much for your wonderful question and so on point. This is a question I get very often. How does a developing nation have their voice heard? One of the things that developing nations have to realize, especially those affected by severe climate change, is that they are actually the countries at the forefront of this issue in many ways. While they are receiving the brunt of the effects, they are also becoming extremely knowledgeable in these types of disasters. And that knowledge is power. And you need to take a position. Developing nations that are affected by climate change need to take a more assertive position and not one that sits back. You need to be seated at tables where you go ahead and say, we are the experts because we are living it. It's very different for you to talk about something in an abstract manner. But for Pakistan, who lives climate change in various areas of the country and has also had it present itself with different mutations, they have become a global example and the experts on this matter. So to answer your question, I think that developing nations that are confronted by climate change need to take a more assertive approach. You don't need to sit in the back and listen to other countries tell you what climate change is. You know what climate change is. So I think that right now, more than ever, people are starting to listen. So another thing that I am such a proposer of, and coming from a center of research, is the ability for professionals to, especially Pakistani professionals, to write about this. You need to write about this and get yourself published in international journals, not only in Pakistan, but around the world, so that you can sound the alarm. I think that a combination of research, a combination of creating awareness, and a combination of not of demanding a seat at the table will make the greater difference for you. People will have to listen. There is a saying in the United States that says that the squeaky wheel gets oiled. Well, this is a situation where you must definitively take a very assertive approach to this. Thank you so much for your question.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Anyone else who want to ask some question?
Can I please say something?
Yes, you can.
Um, Actually, I don't have a question, but I just have a comment. And I totally agree with Dr. Joe that we should make ourselves to be listened. We have to be assertive, and we have to write. We have to speak. We have to go to the forums where people are going to listen to us. That right? It's correct that we cannot just sit back and see if something happens. So we have to be active participants in this. Thank you, Dr. Joe. You're absolutely right about that.
Thank you, Dr. Jones.
We have Najib Tuktai Saab with us as well, and he is the co-convener of Standing Committee of Climate Change and Smoke at Lahore Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Sir, can you please give us few words? Najib sir, hello.
Yep, listening.
आप हमें कुछ अपनी जो है वो राय दें कि किस तरह से हम जो है वो एक combined effort जो है वो कर सकते हैं to address this climate change.
Well, actually, what I believe, everyone is so professional, they deliver whatever is needed and required. But in my case, I believe that we need to focus on the reasons and causes of this climatic problem. Basically, we need to focus on all these things. Unfortunately, for the last 20 years, the climate change experts and the world, they are running after the solutions of the problem. But actually, we are not concentrating on the causes and the reasons of the problem. These are the basic reasons. And plus, as you know, that I have described in our last committee meeting, that we are started preparing a curriculum, which is Dr. Rahil Iqbal was also there. So I have suggested that we need to develop a curriculum from primary to all levels of the institutions, and it should be mandatory and practical. So we need to engage the academia on in all aspects to solve this problem and to raise the questions of why this is happening. Because the climate change is started from our homes. Basically, it is started from our homes. We go into the micro level. So it is started from our homes. So we need to educate the people since the grassroots level. So how to control and how to save all these problems. And the solutions are maybe also there. And inshallah, we will also discuss in our next meetings that how to control, and especially in Pakistan, so how to control eastern rivers and how to control the water from the coming from the glaciers in northern areas. So it is a very detailed and a very, you can say, a very micro level study. We have already done something, and even you are also working for us many years, and all of these professionals are working on it. So inshallah, we're all together. As I told you before, that we are making a climate action committee, a pressure group, a task force in Pakistan, who will monitor all the activities of the institutions and the organizations and the public institutions, so that we can figure out or making them correct if they are wrong, or if they're wrongdoing or wrong spending their funds, what we are getting. We are getting billions of dollars every year, but it doesn't seem a single penny is spending anywhere to recover the climate. I don't think so. I don't see anything since last 4 to 10 years. I mean, it's been many years I've been watching. I've been very keenly watching all this. So thank you very much for giving me such time. I was actually not active today with, I mean, not well, feeling well today. Inshallah, next time I'll have a presentation, and inshallah, I'll deliver to all my valued guests.
Thank you, Najib sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And I think it's a time, because due to some reasons, over few speakers would not join us. So I think this session is a good session, and definitely we will continue it. And now it's the time to open your cameras, and we have to say goodbye, and we want to have a picture. Just all of you open your cameras. Okay. Now I'm taking the picture.